I think it's sad when we all attack each other. But there's a major problem, because the major political issue of our time is cultural. It's not. I mean, it is economic. It's always economic. But this cultural war, which has been declared on us, on British people, is the issue of the time. And I think that it's unhelpful for us to take a pop at each other over that. But you have to call things out for what they are. And with the Farage thing, it's Ben Habib is absolutely right. Without a written constitution where members, so-called members, can vote on various policy ideas or anything, then you've essentially just got a Nigel Farage subscription service. And that I will criticise, because the worst government in the world is not as bad as a dictator sometimes. And I'm not saying Nigel's a dictator. I think he's very good on many, many issues that he's campaigned on over the years, primarily immigration. But I'm not sure that his top area is Islamification of Britain. He has a Muslim chairman of his party. So he's trying to, I call it the big table, small grown-ups table, children's table problem. So the grown-ups table is Labour and Conservative, and now Reform. And then the children's table is myself, Tommy Robinson, and others, Maya Tusi, who have the courage, because we're not willing to lose, or we're not seeking to sit on a green bench, to say things as they are. And I think that Nigel's appeasement and refusal to deal with the mass deportation issue, especially of foreign criminals, is really strange, when his own MP colleague, Rupert Lowe, is saying that openly. So there's not even any political cohesion within the party itself. And seeing as it's not really a political party in the first place, I struggle to work out if they are the vehicle. But if they are the vehicle, then what we need to do is we need to clear up what their policies are and how to democratise their party. That's all that anyone would ever really say about it. But people are desperate, and when people are desperate, they make bad decisions.
Yeah, and also what happens is people are very stubborn, aren't they, in their own opinions. It would be wonderful to have a forum where we can actually have sensible debate, where you're not necessarily taking sides. You come in with an open mind and listen on that sort of stuff, and rather than just rushing to put labels on people. I mean, when you talked about racism, and you raised a very interesting point, but everybody seemed to turn on you as a result of it. Take me back to that night and what your thoughts were.
My thoughts were, they've been growing for a few years, that this was rubbish, this narrative. I'd spent a lot of time on film sets with people of different colours and sexual orientations, and it never been an issue. And it suddenly became an issue. Everyone was talking about what colour they were and how oppressed they were. And I'm like, no, you're not oppressed. You're getting 25 grand a week from Netflix. Get a grip. And so, yeah, it took me a period of probably 3 or 4 years before I just went on Question Time to say I'm going to say it, and I did say it. And I'd written that song, as I said, that distant song, saying what I thought was wrong, and that got me on Question Time. And then it all went absolutely mental, and here I am.
Yeah, well, it is exciting. We're going to get you. You promise you'll play it one time. We're going to have you on this, have that song, which is important. But this is my point. But people are so quick to put a label on somebody. If you disagree with them, you're a racist. If you're an anti-Semite, or you're this, as opposed to actually having a sensible dialogue. How can we get back to having a sensible dialogue? So that's the way you find resolution, isn't it? Trying to understand the other person's position and try and find that middle ground.
Yeah, well, you need to teach children to do it. And they're not being taught to do it. They're being taught that it's the end of the world, and if the climate doesn't get them, then their oppressive racism will destroy everything. Birth rates fall across the West. As I said, my son's school is just an indoctrination factory. Universities are indoctrination factories, the Oxford Union, but saying that they wouldn't, 75% of the audience wouldn't have alerted people if they'd been known of the Hamas attacks in advance. These are sort of thought vacuums, and one has to either take them back confidently, which one could do. I think a decent prime minister. I think Kemi's got. I think it's a very tough job for her, but I think she's, she's very, very good on these issues, is to say, we're going to get this out of schools. It needs to be got out of schools. You need to teach children critical thinking. You don't teach them You know, you don't obsess about sex and race, which is what they seem to do in schools and universities. It's like, no, go and read a book, learn to write, think for yourself, and then you can have a reasonable discussion. But I have a lot of this, even in close relationships I have in life. People just will go, I can't speak to you. And I'm like, why not? And they go, because what you think is so unbelievably wrong. And I'm like, well, I'm very happy to defend what I think. What about you? Are you happy to defend what you think? And they're not, because they know that it's what they think is driven by emotion and narrative, rather than what I think, which I like to think is driven by research and evidence.
Yeah, and I think this is why I say that people may not agree with your views, but you have to sort of turn around and have a forum where you can debate them.